Remember when mobile games weren't complete slop trash? Me too. They had unique identities and they were actually fun to play. So I figured, what the hell, why not talk about these? Because those days might be long gone, but the memories are still there. But just a heads up, a lot of these games are not available anymore in any capacity, so I had to rely on footage from others in order to talk about these. Apologies in advance.
Temple Run, the timeless game of running through an endless bunch of ruins, being chased by apes as you attempt to go as far as you can, beating whatever high score you had. However, this isn't the game I'll be talking about first. That honor would go to Temple Run's clone that came out a year later and became massively more successful than it, Subway Surfers. A game that's still going strong today, synonymous with brain rot, Subway Surfers was the clone that did everything better. You still ran through an endless place, hopping over or under obstacles with power-ups to help you along the way. What made Subway Surfers different was that you were given a little more incentive to play. There were far more characters and costumes and missions and events, boards to get, upgrades, everything. This all made Subway Surfers stand a little taller than Temple Run. Furthermore, the art style is cartoony and charming versus the more realistic-ish style of Temple Run. This is not to dog on Temple Run, it's still a fun game, and it has characters and objectives and everything, but to me, Subway Surfers just has a little more value as a game, more staying power. It's one I spent so much free time playing as a kid, and it's still a fun time waster, but I play it nowhere near as much as I used to. The fun factor is still there though. Next one up is Whale Trail, another charming little game that I love to bits and spent hours playing when I was younger. With gameplay inspired by and very similar to Tiny Wings, you control various whale characters and fly your way through various stages, collecting bubbles and keeping your momentum going, avoiding the black clouds that zap you. It's another endless game like Subway Surfers, where it just goes on and on until you die. Your ultimate goal, to beat your time. But also like Subway Surfers, you have things to work towards. There's missions and challenges to offer some variety. You get different rewards by some big floating guys that correspond to that area's color. When you die, those rewards turn into power-ups to use next time, or money to put towards things like cloud resistance. Everything about the game is super cute, even the villain is cute looking. All the other whales you can save up to buy are cute too. There's a female whale named Wendy, an orange French whale named Terry, a narwhal named Emmy, a British orca named Wagner, and a human fisherman named Gruff. Willow the whale is the main character and there's costumes for him you can save up for as well. All in all, Whale Trail is just a decent, simple little game. It's high score based, there's goals to work towards, it's a fun pop in and then pop out. Nothing else to really say, it's one I've loved for years. Next game up is Draw Rider, which doesn't seem to work anymore. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do or try, no game mode seems to function as it'll just tell you that the server does not respond, please try again later. I mean, this is a years old game, I don't expect the developers to care about it anymore.
Can you make this work? No.
In its heyday, this was a neat little game. You play as a stick figure on a bike and you pedal your way through different courses using the controls on the left and right. Drawn with a minimalistic, line-based design, you race through pre-made tracks, or you make your own and race through them. Most of what I drew for stages would be penile related because haha funny. Not really a whole lot else to say. Sucks you can't play the game anymore, but for what it was fine. The next game is probably the most famous mobile game of all time, Angry Birds. Yep, being a kid in the early 2010s, you could not escape this series. It was a juggernaut, a force to be reckoned with. It was the little game that could, and it indeed did. The original took off so well that the series expanded from there. There was Angry Birds Rio, Seasons, Space, Star Wars, all of which I played, and none of which are available anymore. Seasons and Rio are still playable on the console release of Angry Birds, but I'm covering iOS only with this. There was even a sequel, Bad Piggies, and other ones that I don't even know what the f***. There's the two movies, I mean, it's insane. I'm only going to focus on the first game, which I played and enjoyed as a kid. It's nothing special. Pigs stole your eggs, you're pissed off, gotta get them back. You hold back the birds on a big slingshot and watch them fly. You crash into the ramshackle wooden structures the pigs built for themselves and watch them tumble. You try to get 3 stars by using as few birds as possible and having your trajectory take out as many pigs as possible. There's birds with different powers, and I guess the movie even gave the game birds canonical names now, unless they had them before and I just wasn't aware. So Chuck, for instance, the yellow bird, has a speed ability that allows him to crash into structures better than his contemporaries. Red is your standard bird. Bomb is, well, a bomb. Gotta detonate him at the right time to ensure maximum carnage to the pigs and their buildings. There's Terrence, who's wanted for several war crimes. There's birds with other abilities on top of little bonus things you get, like an upgrade to your slingshot, an earthquake that you can summon to take out the pigs. There's gems and coins you get as rewards for completing levels that you can put towards things, and that's pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, the general consensus with Angry Birds at the time was either you loved it or you hated it. I liked it, but liked was really about it.
Angry Birds got derided a lot back in the day, and it kinda continues to. Its omnipresent status at the time, piss-easy gameplay that doesn't offer a whole lot of replayability outside of getting more stars on a level and getting more coins and such. The console releases were mostly unnecessary and a complete cash grab as you could get the games cheaper on your mobile device. The other games outside of the original offered up some gimmick changes, but not a whole lot else. All that said though, I have a soft spot for Angry Birds. I enjoyed the games back in the day, and every now and then I'll play a couple levels or so. It's nothing great, but for what it is, it's still serviceable. The next game is Beat the Boss 2. While everybody else had Kick the Buddy, I had its more violent counterpart, although both games took their gimmick completely from the old Flash game Interactive Buddy.
Played the hell out of that back in the day on E-Bomb's World.
Like Kick the Buddy, Beat the Boss 2 is a game where you mercilessly mutilate your fictional boss and even put him to a permanent end, until you resurrect him to do it all over again. You unlock different weapons and stages and outfits and skins. There's all kinds of melee weapons and guns to use. There's miscellaneous ridiculous weapons as well. Again, very much like Interactive Buddy. While the game is fun, its concept is ultimately its biggest flaw. After a while, it gets boring wailing on your boss no matter the weapon. It gets monotonous and repetitive quite fast, and you're left begging for some kind of change in things, and it can take forever to get a certain weapon or stage. Overall, the game is okay, but the charm wears off after a while as there's not much to it. Next game up is Flick Home Run, a pretty obscure one that my buddy Ryan showed me when we were like 13. It's a simple little game, at least with the free version I've been playing for years. It's a baseball game, one comes at you and you flick it. It's self-explanatory. There's 3 modes, Total Balls, Bunt Master, and Multiplayer. Multiplayer is exactly that, nothing else to say there. Bunt Master I am not good at whatsoever. Instead of flicking the ball, you have to kind of tap it onto the circular area. I just suck at it is all. The best and most fun is easily Total Balls. Different types of baseballs with different quirks come flying at you and you have to flick them. You can get a home run, nice home run, or hit out of the park for crazy points. There's a fastball that comes in super quick, a ninja one where you have to hit the right ball out of 3, a scuba diver one that curves and when you hit it, it goes crazy fast. It's nothing amazing, but for what it is, it's fun. It beats playing baseball with a friend.
Ow.
Ah, here's a good one. Real Racing 3. It's a racing game. You steer a car, you customize, it's racing. Nothing special, but pretty good for a mobile game. This is another game that my buddy Ryan showed me. There's time trial stuff, racing against other real people. The game accelerates the car for you and you steer around the courses. The graphics are pretty good for a mobile game, and it's a good time sink. Not one I ever got super invested in, but definitely enjoyable for what it is, even for someone like me who's not super into racing. The next one I definitely played a little more, Extreme Road Trip 2. Its gameplay is similar to games like Tiny Wings or the aforementioned Whale Trail, but with an added twist. You control a car and you have controls on the left and right to make you flip forward or backward. You keep the car flipping in the air and land just right to keep it going. Mess it up and the game is over. You go over hills and try to give yourself as much air time as you can and keep the momentum going. There's coins you earn along the way which you can put towards upgrades or new vehicles, or you can outright buy a new one. There's power-ups as well that you can get to help, like a magnet that helps you grab more coins. It's a pretty fun game, but not one of the more super well-known ones. I definitely recommend it. The next game everybody and their dog has played, Hill Climb Racing. I feel I almost don't even need to say anything about if this game is good or what its gameplay is like, but I guess I should. You play as a guy with the softest noggin and neck in the world as you drive a vehicle that's somehow perpetually drunk that you try to keep straight and under control over environments with more bumps and raises than an Appalachian dirt road. It's a game with not so much a learning curve as it is a money curve. Your vehicle starts out jerking around more than a bonobo on speed, you earn more coins to fine-tune the vehicle or outright buy a new one. You get a little further each time, or you don't, but more often than not your neck will end up broken. You can earn coins the normal way or watch some ads to do it. It's sucky, but at least it's only an option, your hand isn't forced with it. There's tons of levels and replay value. It's a fun little game that has surprisingly stood the test of time. It's a game that even some of the youth of today are familiar with. The next game coming in is Bike Race, an absolute classic that I played probably the most out of the racing related games I'll be talking about in this video. A simple game with simple controls. You're on a motorcycle and you use your right thumb to accelerate the bike and you turn your phone to get around the loops and ramps that's in each level. Though I said it was simple, the levels not only get more progressively challenging, but there's a strategy to the game. That being when you tilt your bike and ride on the back tire, for instance, to help you accelerate just a little quicker. Doing that will help net you a better time, and the coveted 3 stars to fully complete each stage. Not unlike Angry Birds in that regard. There are times when you have to slow down and carefully traverse the tracks. There's different bikes to unlock with the more coins you get, each one getting progressively faster and better. The thing that blows ass, however, is the Super Bike and Ultra Bike are only available if you pony up some cash for Bike Race VIP, and its prices are a little outrageous for a mobile game, and those bikes are a godsend and almost needed for the very late stages of the game. Despite that, this is still a good time killer. There's replay value, things to work towards, all that good junk, better scores and times on levels. The next game coming in screeching is one that unfortunately is not available in any way, shape, or form on the App Store anymore, Moto X Mayhem. Another motorcycle game with the same controls as Bike Race. The stages, design, and look, however, are completely different. Moto X Mayhem has a slightly more realistic design, a little less cartoony looking than Bike Race. The stages are more subdued, not as wild to traverse and complete. I only ever had the light version of the game, so I never got to experience the full thing. For what it was a decent little game. I just replayed the one level in the light version over and over again, and I enjoyed it. Another game that's no longer around in any form that I used to have on my phone was Turbo Grannies. Probably the one I played the least out of all the games I'll be talking about in this. Not a whole lot I can say about this game. You control an octogenarian suffering from a near-death life crisis, and so they get a real need for speed. Since I played this game so little, even the gameplay footage I found you can see here is not jogging my memory all too well. I just know that it was fine, but didn't hold my attention enough to keep playing again and again. The last racing game I'll be talking about is Car X Drift Racing. I remember playing this in its earliest possible form all the way back in 2013. It was still in its beta stage pretty much. If I remember correctly, it was just one course you drive on, you drift the car around, and that was it. Playing it now, it has changed a lot. It's a finished game, there's a Steam release, there's other Car X games, it's crazy. Pretty much unrecognizable to me now, but for this video, I gave it a try. You select what you want to race on or do, hold down the accelerator with your vehicle, and you go. You use the brake and you try to drift around the tight bends in the tracks, which I'm not very good at whatsoever. And like the other racing games I talked about, you earn cash and upgrade your vehicle or buy a new better one. It's a good time, but just not one I'm very good at. I definitely played this more years and years ago, but it gets a thumbs up. The next game is actually 2 games, Contract Killer and Contract Killer 2, Zombies. Contract Killer Zombies 2 is the sequel to Contract Killer Zombies. None of these are available anymore. I didn't play these a ton. The Zombies one I played more than the first one, that's for sure. The first one is a stationary shooter. You're stuck in one spot as you eliminate your targets. Headshots are what you want to get. There's different guns, EXP to get. Again, I didn't play it much, but I figured I would give it a mention. Contract Killer Zombies 2 I definitely played more. I never made it terribly far in this game, but it's one I do remember fondly. Without the game in front of me, not a ton's coming back to me just from this footage alone, so that I could have more to talk about. Regardless, I do remember these games, and they were fine for what they were. The next game I'll be talking about is less of a game and more of a little time waster app, Gun Club 2. Another one that my buddy Ryan had showed me. This one, however, I'm not exactly sure as to why he coveted this one. I also had the very similar Gun app, which I feel more people had. Gun Club 2 takes on a more realistic approach with the guns, with you literally having to work the unique mechanisms of each gun in order to shoot them. In the Gun app, you just fire using your finger or shaking the phone. Not to mention, Gun Club 2 would take up over a gigabyte of space. A nothing problem nowadays, but back then, those gigs meant something.
I had an iPhone 4 with about 6 or 8 gigabytes, while my friend had an iPod with 64 gigabytes, so yeah.
Not to mention, the Gun app has a better range of guns, including some humorous ones, and with its more user-friendly design and the guns being easier to fire, I'm gonna say Gun Club 2 doesn't hold up as well these days, and instead, the Gun app is the better choice. Firing its way in next is Dead Trigger. Ho yeah, a zombie FPS that still holds up to this day. You play as a man named Kyle, taken in by some zombie survivors. You blast your way through hordes of the undead in various missions, usually pertaining to killing a bunch of zombies or defending some area. While something like this is best suited for a mouse and keyboard or a proper game controller, it works surprisingly well on a mobile device. While the missions get very samey, they are pretty satisfying to blow through, getting tons of headshots and getting to try out whatever weapon you buy. You get the usual stuff that I've talked about ad nauseum with these mobile games: EXP to get, guns to buy, medkits, cashing gold to earn. There's even a casino. It's a very serviceable FPS with plenty of fun to be had. Running up next is Into the Dead, another zombie game. You play as a nameless, faceless dude whose helicopter seems to have crashed in the forest outside Spencer Mansion. Rather than run from some hungry Cerberus dogs, you run right into swaths of undead who you fill with white hot lead or simply dodge. This is another endless runner where the goal is to get a high score, but where this one differs is not only the first person perspective, but that it also functions as an FPS. You tilt the phone and try to get around swarms of zombies. There's crates you can find that contain a variety of different weaponry, but it's not a free-for-all. You have limited ammo, and so you need to use it wisely, usually against an asshat zombie that you would run into and die to otherwise. There's dog companions you can get to help you, different skins for the zombies, all sorts of missions and objectives to complete. There's tons of great replay value with this game, and if you die too soon, you never feel too discouraged. You want to just run back in and do better. I definitely like this one a lot. Infinity Blade is next. Yup, before Fortnite, but after Unreal Tournament, Epic Games put out Infinity Blade. Okay, yeah, they had games before Unreal and more in between it and Fortnite, but just let me say my thing! Infinity Blade I put plenty of hours into back in the day before the game unfortunately got shut down with its sequels, as all good things do, it seems. I actually first found out about this game thanks to an old 10 for the win video with Steve here and Larson. There's a throwback for y'all. I didn't play a whole lot of the second game, but the first I played a ton. The game starts with you as a warrior facing off against the God King who wields the Infinity Blade. You die against him, but your son years later swears to avenge your death. The game is mostly linear with a few different paths you can take where you fight against large foes. You parry their attacks and hit them when there's an opening, swiping with your finger. Looking around the rooms you find yourself in reveals different paths or treasure for the taking. You'll more than likely die the first couple times against the final boss and thus continuing the seemingly perpetual cycle of swearing vengeance, yada yada. Soon enough, after fighting the enemies in the castle enough times, you're able to upgrade your armor and ring and sword enough to slay the God King, which is the good ending, or you can get the bad ending if you decide to join him. It's a redundant game, all things considered, but it was still fun. I enjoyed the combat and how intuitive it was. It felt fair in difficulty, had some good graphics, and I liked the aesthetic a lot. I just wish this game and its sequels were still around. Yeah, being a kid during the big Slender craze, I for sure had this game. This was my only Slender experience for a long time as my shitty laptop at the time could not run the original game. The gameplay is pretty much the same as the original Slender. Find pages, avoid the Slender Man. The only things different between the two are the environments and how Slender Man himself operates. You have the daytime setting right away and you look around for... Actually, I'm not sure how many signs you're supposed to get. The game didn't say for me. I've heard it's 7 of them, but I've collected 8, so I don't know. Unlike the original Slender, Slender Man himself isn't as big of an obstacle. Unlike the original, where in later versions he'll just appear behind you and end the game and you can't say shit about it, in Slender Rising he keeps his distance for the most part, and if he's too close, you have the opportunity to just swipe away and run. You can change the controls to whatever you prefer. The environment isn't as memorable or interesting as the original game, but it's serviceable. Overall, an okay horror experience. Like Subway Surfers or Angry Birds or Hill Climb Racing, here's a game that I don't think I even need to explain, but I will anyways. Jetpack Joyride. If there ever was a Mount Rushmore of mobile games, this would sit firmly on there. The endless runner extravaganza where you jetpack your way through a facility big enough to make Umbrella blush. The game not only works because of its memorable style, but also its gameplay and the things you can do. The jetpacks and skins and everything you can save up for. The power-ups are memorable and super fun to use. The music is iconic. There may not be a ton to say because it's an endless runner where the fun is getting new things, but I don't care. The game still has a firm grip on my goopy brain where I can play it and get lost in it for a little while. A classic deserving of its status. Another classic jumping its way in is Doodle Jump, another game deserving of mobile game royalty status for sure. More high score endless stuff, you play as Q*bert's red-headed stepchild and you tilt your phone from side to side and make it up platforms and avoid falling down. There's normal stationary platforms, ones that move, ones that disappear upon landing on them, ones that shift. All the while you have to avoid aliens by either jumping on them or shooting at them. There's little boosts you can get like springs, a jetpack, spring shoes. The art style is simple but very appealing, looking like it was all doodled on grid paper. I wonder if that has anything to do with the name. The higher you go, the harder it gets, and the more obstacles you have to learn and overcome. Not a ton else to say really. Doodle Jump has been and always will be a fun little time waster. Alright, Geometry Dash. Another game that's held on pretty well over the years, not just thanks to its meme status, but because its difficult but satisfying gameplay has stood the test of time. You're a square that you can customize the shape and color of, hopping over insane obstacles. Spikes, gaps, buzzsaws, you go upside down, fly all around. My ADHD can barely keep up with everything this game throws at you. While Geometry Dash is an awesome and fun time, I suck major ass at it, especially with the later levels. I have pretty bad hand-eye coordination enough as it is, but my timing with stuff is horrendous as well. I can never get the jumps proper, and I have difficulty in jumping from a thing to thing, and then having to do this thing going upside down and all around. It's really hard for me to keep up with, and the much harder levels I never got terribly far in. I just never adopted the skill set. That said, just because I'm bad at it doesn't make the game bad at all. It's hard, but it makes me want to get better. Also, I gotta say, the soundtrack absolutely slaps my nuts. It's so good. Definitely still a fun time. Hard, but fun.
Alright, this video is getting longer than hell, so I'm just going to end this with one more great classic.
Almost as recognizable and iconic as Angry Birds, Cut the Rope. I'm not talking about any spin-off game, the animated show, none of that. Imagine those aren't around and all we have is just this original game. A puzzle game where you cut ropes that are attached to pieces of candy that you deliver into a little creature called Om Nom's mouth. The puzzle aspect is reliant on the physics of the ropes themselves. There's cutting and then having the rope swing and cutting again at the right time. The puzzles change up and you can get bubbles the candy will be in or little squeeze blowers to blow the candy in the right direction. There's also spiders you have to make sure don't get to the candy first. Each level is unique and challenging, and like Angry Birds and Bike Race, it's all about the chase of the coveted 3 stars. The game also relies on creativity, and sometimes that creativity has to be sacrificed and you have to just settle with 2 stars or lower upon completing a level. Even worse is the sad Om Nom. Cut the Rope is a fun and cute little time, well deserving of the accolades it got then. Though the popularity has waned a bit, there's still something to behold here with this game.
And you know what, just like my weirdest music I listen to video, let me just give a rundown of a whole bunch of games at once.
Fruit Ninja, Ninjump, Nitro Nation Drag Racing, Stickman Skater, Touchgrind BMX, Minecraft Pocket Edition, Gunner Z, and so many others that I can't possibly name them all. It was hard enough just to pick even the amount that I had to talk about in this video because there were just so many.
I think all in all, while mobile gaming had nowhere near the amount of stuff that you could do on it compared to PC or console, and that was one of the big reasons why it got derided a lot back in the day, at least back then, mobile games had character and they had substance. The games were unique, and yes, there was slop back then, much like there is now, but even the slop back then still felt like there was some level of love and passion put into it versus now. At least that's the way that I see it. So let me know what mobile games you grew up with, any that I missed, any that you remember, let me know down in the comments. And thank you for watching.